If you're a parent caught in the chaos of youth sports, the pressure, the politics, the excitement, you're not alone. This is Be Valiant.
Hello, on this episode of Be Valiant, powered by Valiant Sports Society, I got another good one. I got to tell you, this is a longtime friend of mine. I'll give you a little bit of history here in a minute. It's Kevin McCabe. For those of you in Arizona in particular, I'm sure a lot of you in the sports world, in particular the high school world, definitely know of Kevin. Kevin is a Arizona voice of high school prep here. He has been for decades, I believe now, right? Decades. He's known as the Dean of Arizona High School Sports, so we're going to get a lot of intel from him on that end. He's the host of the Kevin McCabe Show on Arizona Sports 98.7. You can hear that every week, and it's a fantastic show. He brings athletes in studio and recaps what's been going on. Highly, highly positive show. 40-plus years covering high school sports, so there's a lot of insight we're going to cover. But what's most important here is the thread that we always talk about. And I love the experience that Kevin brings with high school. And by the way, he's covered all kinds of sports here in Arizona. I don't want to leave that out. But most importantly, he's a sports dad. He's a sports dad, him and his wife, Penny, of 5 kids, 2 boys, 3 girls. So he leans a little heavier, sorry guys, to the girl dad side like me. So we have that in common. Kenny, Sarah, Eleanor, Charlotte, and KJ. He's got his own basketball starting 5 anytime anybody wants to take him on. His daughter did play elite softball and went off to Division I, but she got recruited by Division I, chose to play at NAIA in Chicago, but we'll talk a little bit about that. His stories in sports parenting we're going to get into. We're going to relate that into high school, but a little bit of how we got to know each other so you know where kind of some of our hopefully fun banter comes from today. Kevin and I both worked for Fox Sports 20 years ago, and we became friends. I was with Fox Sports Arizona. He was with Fox 10 locally. I would have never thought that 25 years later, we'd be sitting in front of a camera, 3 cameras actually, here in a studio talking about what we're talking about. But I'm so happy with this long intro to say, welcome. I'm so glad to have you.
Wow, that was maybe the longest and most flattering intro I've ever had. But I first off, that we've been friends that long, so I still have to keep the payments going for that.
By the way, I think it's going on 30.
Yeah, well, I know, and then
30 next year,
which is really, part of me laughs at that. But when people start talking about the '90s, that's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So no, it's a great friendship built on trust, I think, and you've done this a long time. You meet people, and you just kind of build that trust and respect of their work. And luckily, I've had that with you all these years.
Yeah, well, listen, your passion's contagious. It is, and especially when you're talking about high school athletes. I will often turn you on my way to trail hiking and running, and it will keep me engaged listening to you because, again, it's your passion that comes across, but also how you treat those athletes when they come on the show, and the coaches, by the way. Like everybody should be trusted on or trust you when they go on that show because you are going to prop everybody up that comes on there. So I appreciate that.
It's my drug, lifting up and celebrating young people and young coaches. They don't make any money. And I still believe that high school sports are the purest of all the sports. It's getting a little dirty, a little cloudy with parents getting in the way and NIL and transfers, but it's still pure. I mean, they're not making $2.3 million and coaches aren't making but a $4,000, $5,000 stipend. They're still teachers. And so I love the genuineness of that. And I still, every week my wife will ask me, how'd the show go? And I'll go, great. Because I got to celebrate these people and give them the stage, the platform for that.
Well, the beauty of it is just wash, rinse, and repeat, right?
A lot of ways, but it's funny you say that because somebody asked me one time, they said, well, you always ask about their parents and who's helped support them or your teammates. And I said, yeah, I'm never going to not stop asking about their parents or their support or grandma and grandpa going to every one of their games. And you know this better than anybody. Yeah. Sitting in those damn fold-out chairs, eating bad food. I watched it at the baseball tournament this past weekend. Your mouth is worn out from sunflower seeds, or you're sitting in a volleyball gym for 5 hours on a Saturday. And a lot of that was before we had these phones to keep us busy. But I want to give those. I always say, make sure you got cereal on Saturday morning, even though kids don't eat cereal. Make sure you have clean socks on Saturday, because you know this too. 11 o'clock on Friday night. Hey, I need this washed. For when? For tomorrow's game at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, so and you've got to leave an hour early.
To be there at 6:30.
So, make sure you got clean socks? Can we stop at Dick's Sporting Goods or pick up something on the way?
Yeah.
Oh, you've lived that life.
Yeah. So let's start in the high school side, and then I'm going to transition to the sports parent side. So how did the Dean of Arizona Sports come into play?
I started as a sports broadcaster in Flagstaff in 1981, and we were still filmed back then. KNAZ TV2, and I worked with a guy who had come out from Ohio University. He was an East Coast guy from New York. ESPN was just in his infancy days, but he wanted to be Warner Wolf. He wanted to, let's go to the videotape. He just wanted to read scores and highlights. And I wanted to tell stories. Unfortunately, in Flagstaff, there were 2 high schools, Flag High and Coconino. There still are. And it was a great rivalry. It was great theater. Winslow was just 30 minutes away with Emil Nasser, the legendary coach. Williams, Arizona. You went up on the reservation. And he allowed me. He said, go do those. And I built an unbelievable following through this and sharing these young people's high school stories. We covered NAU, but that was transient. I mean, people who lived in Flagstaff, these were their kids, their families. And in fact, I just went to the Flagstaff Flagstaff City Hall of Fame a couple of weeks ago. And a lot of those same people, they said, you got the dirt of Flagstaff on you, and I still do. And I fell in love with it. In the Dome, throwing the ball around with Joe Cromer at halftime of the Flag High Coconino game, and it was his grandpa, Cromer Stadium, that Coconino plays at. So there's so many unique, fun stories that I fell in love with, and just been able to. I spent 6 years in Tucson with the CBS station down there. And when I got down there, you try to work your way up in television, like baseball. You go to the rookie leagues, Flagstaff. You go to AA in Tucson, was market 80 at the time, and you're covering Pac-12. But I said, what do I do here? And they said, just do what you did in Flagstaff, only now you've got 25 high schools. And did the same thing and fell in love with it, and then continued to do it here in Phoenix for many years. And I covered all the Suns and the World Series with Gonzo and Charles Barkley finals and Amari, but I still reach back to my nest egg and cover high schools because I love it. I still love it.
So the radio show's been on air for how long?
That's a great question. About 12 years. I left television in 2008, and the economy crashed, and I started my own radio show, and that was struggling, and I did some marketing and advertising, and the AIA had a radio show that was built around high schools, and I listened to it, and it was okay. But these were guys, they'd never been to Cortez High School. They're talking about Avondale, and they've never been there. It was Hamilton and Chandler and Brophy and Mountain Point. I said, wait a minute, there's a lot of history here in Arizona, and they've since done a better job. Well, I contacted them. I said, I'd really like to do some work with you guys. And Jose Garcia, who's still with the AIA, opened the door for me. Went down there and was doing some $25 hits or $100 hits, reports, as you will, not hits, but still continue to do it. And then I joined the group there and started doing their Saturday show. Well, they left and went down the dial to another station. And I said, no, I'm staying. I want this Saturday morning built at Bonneville, Arizona Sports 98.7, which is the sports station.
Yeah.
So I get all that Diamondback audience, the Cardinals audience, the Sun Devil audience, the Coyote audience, and people are hearing stories. But I also try to keep them interested on parts of the city that maybe they've never heard of. Where is Fountain Hills? What's going on? And when they have high school out there, it's not just, or Santan, and where are these different communities? Agua Fria with a great history there. So I try to make them stories that everybody will listen to and won't be upset. They're not going to turn the radio off because they're hearing about it, and celebrate these young people through the community. They're all small towns. Peoria, Avondale, Santan, Queen Creek. They're small towns, but they just come together and made this big-ass city.
Well, and I think that's part of the beauty of listening to your radio show, and I'm really curious how many high school events you actually go to in a week. Seriously, because I don't think people truly realize, you're present. And it's not just about watching what's happening on a court or a field or whatever it is you're going to see, you are watching everything inside of that ecosystem that's going on around that playing field. You are watching the kids. You are watching the coaches. You're definitely watching what's going on with parents. And I don't think people realize, but that also comes across in the show and how much you actually know and can feel from what you've gone and seen.
I fake it pretty good, don't I?
No, I don't think you fake it. I think it's real.
I'm blessed that I work for Honor Health Foundation, which is allowed me to do this. Some people go play golf on Saturday. Some people go to the gym. I go watch high school games and watch these kids living out their dream, their parents watching their kids living through them vicariously. But I love it. Maybe a couple of 3 nights a week. We both worked in network television, and when you cover the Suns or you cover ASU, they hand you a media kit with all the kids' names and scores and their background and their stories and everything. High schools, you still got to find those out, and it's still fascinating to me. Years ago when I was on television, unfortunately, a lot of it was about me. Look at me. Look at the TV boy. I always joke to the young people. I said, "Have you seen the movie Anchorman?" That's what I was. Kind of a big deal, and it makes me sad because I was more worried about how I looked, how was the interview, and if I was going to win an Emmy than talking about the kid who's dying of cancer. And now I'm able to give back and support and share all those stories, and I love it. The mere fact that you're letting me talk about it here, celebrate all those things and those coaches and the parents. I mean, probably maybe 90% of them are still genuinely in it for all the right reasons. And so I still love that.
Right.
Maybe that's getting down to 88% as we're speaking right now, but I still
the other 12% is just getting louder.
Getting loud. Well, and there's so many variables. The internet has helped with that. Yeah. Phones have helped with that. Rankings. He's the top 5th grader in the country. Stop. Stop the insanity. Yeah. So I know we've got all those things to talk about, but I thank you for allowing me to share. It's my passion. And I've tried to put a lot of that together into a book that'll eventually come out. I always joked it was called my hero book. You're in my hero book. And I always call people that. You're in my hero book. Will you help me? And I don't have a title for it, so maybe that's it. But just all those stories of people that have allowed me to share it, allowed me inside their house. From the stars, and there are many of those, to those who are living in a double-wide mobile home in Kayenta, which is just as powerful to me.
Yeah. Well, it comes across for sure. So let's briefly, when high school and all these years, what's the biggest transformations that you've seen really occur?
They're still kids, and every coach I talk to, they're still kids. I believe all the obvious things, the social media, the COVID, when they all had to sit at home, that these kids are on their phones. And I'll laugh. I'll go to a school and I'll talk to, talking about Randall McDaniel playing at Agua Fria. Here's one of the greatest Sun Devils ever in the NFL Hall of Fame. And they don't know who he is, but they can get the video out and look at him on video, and even then they don't care. They're more worried about what the latest TikTok or gram is. So the kids are still kids. They still want to be athletes. They still all want to go to the pros. They dream of that or get a college degree. Things have gotten mixed up with that, with NIL and recruiting, which is also, so many of those things are nightmares. They become nightmares.
You feel that more tempered up?
Oh, yeah. It's completely changed the landscape of everything.
Yeah.
Everything, because it used to be they recruited high school kids. Now, all these college coaches recruit their own players to stay. Then they go to the transfer portal. And then, by the way, let's go, we may need some high school kids. So it's changed the whole landscape. And, of course, why I'm sitting here doing the show, the parents have changed because they now have more access to more information, more knowledge, more camps, more one-on-one, more strength, more protein, more everything, more, and fuels them on the ambition of their kid being the next star, the greatest 5th grader in the country.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can educate some of the parents.
Good luck with that.
Right
if we can educate, if we can make one understand, and I think that's the it's so hard. You and I've talked about it so many years. So
let's transition over to the starting 5. And as a sports parent, that's been around and involved in high school sports the way you have been. I mean, first of all, let's talk about the 5 kids and what they played and how you and Penny were sports parents in the mix of all that.
I always joke I want to write a book called We Did Everything Right. We read to our kids. We got them involved in youth soccer and swimming and Little League and all those things. So we did all those things, but they're going to be what they're going to be. It's just to kind of get them so they know how to line up and how to put on a uniform and play with grass. People always ask my oldest son, Kenny, who, you're first, and, and what sport does he play? And I still have a picture in my garage that's by all my unused tools of him smiling, running to first base. But I think it was the last time he smiled playing sports that he really had sports sewered for him. It was really disappointing. There was a coach who was coaching with his dad and doing it for his kid. It was, and he kind of, but all along he was an artist anyways. So he played sports, he enjoyed them, but it was never something that he was never driven by them. Now, my daughter, on the other hand, my daughter Sarah was my athlete. She still is driven, focused.
This is a softball player?
Yes, and she was driven, and everything she does. She's a CPA now. She's driven and focused, has her checkbook balanced to the penny, even did my taxes, but she wanted to compete. And she's probably going to hear this. I always joke that she was a bitch. But you have to be that
tough.
As a
she was tough. Let's rephrase it.
But on the mound, no, she was tough. But she was also just as a pitcher and wanted to go practice and let's go throw and all that, and was driven to that. My third child, Eleanor, our daughter, free spirit, beautiful cheerleader, which is a whole nother parenting in itself. She also was a figure skater. And I tell this, I thought she got into figure skating. I forgot to say, she got into figure skating, and I thought, this is going to be cheap. Oh. No, it's so expensive. New outfits, a dance, a choreographer, a coach, skating, ice time. But the great thing about her, she was born with a unique form of verbal dyslexia. You'd ask Ellie, how do you spell cat? And she would go, GHR. Not, what? But that's how she heard it. And we retrained her brain, but the figure skating gave her the confidence to do all this. And she's now a wonderful, brilliant college graduate. Still wants to go get figure skates and go back out and skate, but she was very high ranked. It's also the worst sport from parenting standpoint because it's all judged. If you're in gymnastics or today she doesn't look great and we're only going to give her a 5.7. And
so the oldest played what sport?
He played lacrosse. He also played but he would just play lacrosse because it was what the guys at school played.
And the second?
Sarah played softball. Eleanor was a figure skater. Charlotte played some softball and then also was a cheerleader. And she's my free spirit. She listens to 70s rock and roll.
All right.
And then Kevin Jr., KJ, he played sports and was competitive. Played football at Corona del Sol and loved working out. He was one of those guys who he'd go to the gym every morning, still does. But his junior year, he fell out of love with it because of the coaching and the egos and no reps. And just one of my pet peeves with coaching, you've got to make it interesting for the kids.
Yeah,
standing there. Never got reps. He's out there a linebacker, special teams, and he's standing there for 3 hours, and he comes down and goes, I'm just done. I'm done, And but they were all given the same opportunities, and my wife and I tried to open all those doors and tried to be good parents. It's interesting. I look back, I wasn't a great parent, but I wasn't a bad one. We tried to, drove them to everything, made sure they had clean socks and food.
When you say that, are you saying you weren't a great sports parent or just parent in general?
There's no manual, damn it. This wasn't around.
Oh, yeah, there's no manual.
And each one is different. Each sport is different. Each kid is different. What drives them, each team, league, parenting. I think, as I've said with everything, we did the best we could. I had my own issues and dramas as a sports dad, and I swore to myself I would never yell at my kids, never yell at them. I'd cheer for them. I got a little chirpy sometimes where I was just, I had fun. I was so nervous watching my daughter pitch. She was that good. But I was never, and her teammates would ask on the driving home, they go, did your dad yell at you on the way home? She goes, no, never. I would ask her about one play. What happened on that double play where you guys are giggling out there? And we'd laugh about it, and then we turn up the music and bop and get a Slurpee. So from that standpoint, I think I did a really good job, and maybe they'll tell you that. They probably should. Again, I love the fact that you're recognizing and looking at parenting and how you can. I've seen them all. I've seen them all, especially covering high school sports, having been there, having been part of teams whose kids are on that team, and they all think they're going D1, P5, full ride, and Lord knows none of them ever did.
Yeah.
So it's really eye-opening.
Well, so what's interesting so far, you've mentioned with the oldest, maybe another one, the youngest, you talked about how coaching affected them negatively. And, for me, in this youth sports space and why we're sitting here is you think, and I would probably say this about you too, I was probably sounds worse, but when we're in this space and you think, I got the tools to navigate this, like I can do this. And then 3 years in, you're like, what the heck is going on here, right? And you just don't know what you don't know. But you have that experience. And so when you see coaches that are taking joy away and are taking fun away and having your kid move into a different direction, which is not to play, I mean, that's maddening. And so how do you and Penny handle that, knowing what you know, being around high school and seeing what you do to, know by all the great coaches that are out there? What do you do to handle that? What did you do to handle that?
That's a fine line, and it's a tough line. It's a tough question because you don't go to the coach, or maybe you do. You wait at the opportune time and find out, why not after a game. And there's the 24-hour rule they now talk about, or 48-hour. But just find out what is his vision for your child, and not why isn't he playing. That's not the way to go in. Maybe he's not good enough. And if he's not good enough, should he go play something else? If he's just feeling, and then you also talk to your kids. Are they having fun? Are they enjoying this? My daughter was a great pitcher, but she didn't pitch every game. And you go to the next level, and all of a sudden there's a great pitcher, and she'd sit, and all of a sudden pitch the 11 o'clock game that night, and the kids are all done. And so there's so many different aspects and levels that you have to deal with. And these coaches too, I commend all of them for doing it.
Oh, for sure.
Because they're not making any, now with the club sports, there's finances are built in, which scares me. And that scares me. It's a whole nother subject and a whole nother segment is these coaches are now, padding or making their house payment by doing this club coaching. But for the most part, these coaches are doing because they want to coach and they want to win. And that may not be the best key either. Should they be playing? Should they be enjoying? Should they be growing? And anymore, we've given up on a lot of the fundamental stuff, teaching kids fundamental, how to have fun. So there's so many different, every game, every team, every coach is different on how he wants to have. They'll all say the thing. I'm sure you got told a million times, hey, we're going to play everybody, and everybody's going to have fun. And sure enough, the same 9 are playing every game, and you're up 12-1, and you're going, wait a minute, So
and by the way, there's a difference here, and I want to clarify with you. We're talking about high school because of you being the dean of high school, but we're not just talking about high school. And we talk about the McCabe starting 5. I've given you a nickname, by the way, the McCabe starting 5. But when we're talking about them, it's their journey through rec to club to high school.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you would agree that in high school, it's a different animal because on varsity and competing. And yes, it is about winning. I don't want parents to think that you and I are sitting here saying high school is about development. It's
no, it's not.
But it should be.
Well, it should be.
A good coach thinks about that. A good coach thinks about that.
Programs do develop as they come up, and they do a great job of that, teaching them in the freshman level. And as they get to JV at sophomore, and deciding if they have the capabilities of playing, because sports in Arizona has gotten really good in high schools. It's really good.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go, and I've had families and friends go to smaller schools so they can play, I get that. If you just want them to play, but don't send them to that small school thinking that they're going to play and then get that scholarship. It's so hard. It's so hard. You have to remember those details. But I think what's sad is really gotten sad is you have to play a club sport, an AAU sport, and almost for the most part play it year round if you want to play at the high school level, whatever it may be.
Forced by the coach.
That's just
at the high school level.
No, you have to do that, and if you even want a chance to play the coach, play in high school, and that's, I hated everything about club sports. I hated it until my daughter became really good at softball. And then went through all the whole club systems and played for, I've got 12 bags in outfits and uniforms. This one's going to be the one where but in order to play for Corona del Sol and pitch for them, she had to play club. She had to, grow within that. Although the best year she ever had, she took the summer off and was on a swim team. But you have to have that foundation of playing and competing and getting better and growing through club sports. Unfortunately, if you ever want to play at high schools. And it's a sad state, but
But are you saying that because of the level of talent requires that? Or are you saying the coaches are looking for them to be year-round athletes in that sport?
Both, unfortunately.
I would say it leans heavier on the high school coach side, right?
No, I don't think so. No,
you don't think so?
I think, yeah, but once they get to high school, they've got to play year-round that sport. Because players will say, I'm watching, we're one of the great players right now, Tate Reynolds, who was recruited by Clemson to play baseball. He's a baseball player. He's an athlete. Family, longtime athletes here. But he plays football. He's a quarterback. And playing two sports. And they all say, oh, you can play both. He can because he's that great of an athlete. But if you're a wide receiver and you're an infielder, baseball coach wants you there for fall ball, wants you in baseball shape for fall ball, and the football team wants you as a wide receiver. So there's a fight there. And they all say, I'm going to go play two sports in college. That'll never happen. Never happen.
Well, what's interesting about that story you're telling is we have a quote on the Valiant Sports Society site on Eric Backage, who's now the Clemson coach. He recruits multi-sport athletes. So the conundrum this kid could find himself in,
there you go,
is if the high school coach says you're going to play this sport year-round, but yet his number one, let's just say it's his number one team recruiting him, Eric Backage, for all we know, he recruits multi-sport athletes. So if you force them into I'm not saying in the last year, his senior year, he's got to play multiple sports, but it's well known that Eric Backage recruits multi-sport athletes, right?
Right.
So how does he deal with that with the high school coach?
If you got high school coaches. Oh, we'll work together with the baseball coach. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
They fight. And when you have a unicorn like Tate Reynolds who can play quarterback, he just hurt his hamstring and now he's sitting, and baseball's going, wait a minute, he may transfer, he may graduate at December and go. And that's a unique one. That's a player that's playing at that highest level. Now, I will say this in his defense, they want athletes that play multi-sport. They genuinely do. They want those guys. I mean, Andrus Pete, who played at
the high school coaches or the college coaches?
The college coaches. College coaches. Yes. And you talk to professional athletes. I would guess 70% of them, maybe even higher, played multi-sports. They ran track and football. They wrestled and played football. They played football and basketball. Andrus Pete, 6'8", 300 pounds, played football at Corona del Sol. He played basketball. And because of that, he playing 13 years in the NFL because his feet and hips from basketball taught him how to pivot.
Right.
And so they want those guys. Now, being able to do it and compete at that level, those are the pure athletes. Those are the kids who are God-given talent that can play two sports and can do it at a high level. You want your kid to be able to do that, but I also get it too. If you're a great football player and you want to play baseball, they're going to tell you play football. That's where you may play in college at. So,
well, how do you think parents should handle that? Do you think parents should say? I mean, I don't think this is necessarily a debate on whether a kid should lock in on one sport because the high school coach of fill in the blank whatever sport says you need to play 10 months out of the year. We do fall going into our spring, or we do spring for our fall, or whatever it is, right?
Right.
There is more value, and you just hit on it with Sarah. There's more value in moving sport to sport and getting those skills and bringing those skills into your other sports and maybe your primary. But your best year Sarah had was when she was in the pool. Yeah, and by the way, that's like totally makes sense.
It totally makes sense.
Didn't throw, but still was working on her shoulder.
This. Yeah, these high school coaches have this on, and they've got to win, and they want to compete, and they're building their program. All the high school football teams have feeder programs, young kids in the neighborhood. They're playing them. They're out watching those kids. They're watching their necks, and they want them playing football year round. So they won't tell the parents to do that. There's definitely some influence.
Oh, for sure.
And
I've heard it across a number of schools.
Basketball is probably
Valley.
the strange one where that AAU just goes. It's a machine. Volleyball is similar where it's a machine, shuts down for the high school season, and then revs right back up. And that's what they want you playing. They were watching, you're going to play club, and we watched you play club, and that's where things start getting really muddy. It gets really muddy where, teen girls are playing on a certain club volleyball team, and now it's not recruiting, but they want to go play with their buddies.
Yeah.
And they're going to go to Notre Dame Prep. They're going to go to Sunny Slope. Come play at Horizon. We've got a great schedule. We've got a great team. And so it's not recruiting, but it's making them comfortable with the club players that they play with. But, yeah, it makes me sad, but it's the way of the world right now. It's, in order to play high school sports, you've got to play that club sport year-round and be fed into that high school. If you can play another sport and excel at both, and you see these athletes, you see them playing football 4 days a week, practicing, and then going for 2 hours to a batting cage and hitting. And it's football. If you don't show up for football, you're not going to play.
Yeah.
You don't show up for practice, you're not going to play. If you don't go to baseball, you're not going to play. And so the pressures are there. The pressures are on the parents. The pressures are on the kid. And, oh, by the way, you got to keep your grades up.
So the kids, your kids, the McCabe kids, were they multi-sport up to what age?
Oh, probably till about the time they got to high school. They would play them all. They would, whatever interests them, whatever was going on, whatever their buddies were playing, which I love that. I love that camaraderie in the neighborhood. And we were lucky to live in that kind of neighborhood. KJ played baseball with, and he'll tell you this, he was okay. He had kids who went on to play at Corona.
Yeah.
One of his best friends played center field and played wide receiver, wound up getting hurt, was going to go to NAU as a running back or wide receiver, and got hurt and had a great high school career. And that's the other, I'm rewinding the tape. These kids, when they're a sophomore in high school, they may be the best player. All of a sudden you're a senior and everybody grows into their body and everybody's, hit the, everybody catches up to you. So you may be the best fifth grader in basketball. Now, Koa Pete was.
Yeah.
Koa Pete, he was 6'8" as an eighth grader and had an NBA body. That's different. That's unique.
Right.
And there was no reason for him to play another sport. He's going to the league.
Yeah.
But that's a unicorn. That's Spencer Rattler. That's, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy was a great baseball player. Played baseball at Perry High School.
Yeah.
Was really good. He just happened to be a better quarterback.
Yeah.
And his brother Chubba, same thing. Great baseball player. His sister was a softball player. Great softball player. Played at Coastal Carolina maybe, or on the East Coast. So, but I think when you have families like that, if they can play other sports, maybe play them not as competitively or play club and are not driven by it, go to club games, great. But find where your comfort zone is, and also where it's good. And you know this better than anybody. Also has to work for the family.
Yeah.
For the family. Because these club games, Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday, and the other kids are getting ignored. So there's all that goes into the equation.
So that's a good segue. So for you and Penny, with 5 kids managing this, and I suppose that between the oldest and the youngest, there was enough space, so it's not an overlap.
No,
but
the old Irish Catholic family, one every other year.
Oh my gosh! So with you guys, what emotions did you guys feel mostly? I mean, for me, we've talked about it. A lot of fear, which is why I use a lot of fear. Try to evolve away from that for parents. For me, I couldn't believe how much fear was in me in making decisions. Like I really couldn't. There was a lot of joy, by the way. But, But for you guys, for you and Penny with 5 kids, did you just have a roller coaster of emotion through their journeys?
No, the kids, I think they did put the table out, put the platform out there, and they picked and chose. And one of our rules was if you're going to sign up for this, you're going to play it. My young son, KJ, played hockey one year. Cost us a small fortune, and he was done. And it made me sad because I played hockey and I thought this is great.
Yeah.
Eleanor, got into skating where skates are $800 and outfits. And if you're going to do this, you're going to do this. You're going to go in 4 a.m. and skate. And if you're done, you're done. And that was fine. And that was KJ. He played football, went to summer before his junior year. And he just said, I'm done. And that was fine. And it's hard. But no, again, too, I was working as a sportscaster, so I was gone a lot. My wife did a lot of this and did an amazing job at coordinating, and I'd go to games and pick up, and you're juggling, making sure that you're there for all their as many games as you can be.
Yeah.
And you know that. And I did. I went to as many games, figure skating competitions, shows, and
so you guys were supportive parents for sure. I mean, that I think we can tell that by what you're talking about. Do you think
selling those raffle cards and selling chocolates and come on, Girl Scouts, everything. So yes.
So along the way, were there mistakes that you guys feel? What mistakes did you make in this journey with them?
That's a great question.
Maybe to rephrase it, if you could go back and do it again, what would it be? That
I have no regrets, no regrets, as the tattoo says in that movie. No, I think, yay to me and my wife that we let them be what they're going to be, because a lot of the neighbor kids and a lot of those kids were pushed and shoved and yelled at, and I'm really lucky that I had my wife, that we had the support, and grandparents too, who would take them and make sure that they were. But no,
But no regrets. I mean, no mistakes with coaches or clubs or. I mean, I have a ton of them. That's where I go back, and that's part of it was for me a fear of not taking a kid off one of my kids off of a team when it was abusive.
No, and thankfully I did see that, and I was close enough to it where they're on a team. A great example was Sarah. She's having a great year, unbelievable year, and their hot shots or whatever they were. They said, okay, next year we're dissolving this, and we're coming back as the Athletics, but you four have your roster spots. And she came back, after high school season, and didn't have it. And so this coach had lied to her, and I was really upset. So she had to try out. I'm going, wait a minute, and he had already replaced her with a couple of other. And so we went and played for another team, and she had a great time, and tried to finding the best place, the most comforting place where she can also grow. She had a pitching coach who took her to one level, which was great. And when she realized, she wanted to go and she wanted to compete, she went to a higher level pitching coach, and he was great. And so I think fortunately, we recognize those things. My daughter Eleanor had a great skating coach. She's still friends with her to this day. I think Charlotte is such a free spirit. I joke, she listens to Led Zeppelin. This is my daughter who,
rock out,
classic Sarah. Rock. She loves Fleetwood. That's a Fleetwood Mac tattoo. She was a cheerleader, played softball. She just really enjoyed herself and was well-rounded. So it wasn't a competitive bone in her. She competed, played JV softball, played varsity softball, but just was happy to be part of the team. And then KJ, same thing. He was driven, and now he still goes to the gym every day. He wants that workout, that burn. And now he's in sales, and he's more competitive than anybody. So I love that. But I wish I had a better story for you. Going back, I'm really blessed with, where there was issues and stuff, but
they definitely had their adversity.
Yeah,
and
sure.
And it sounds like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you guys had your kids go deal with their adversity. You didn't step in and become a voice. I mean, I preached that to Madison and Sydney, who did a podcast each, and it was like, you're going to have to go talk to your coach.
Yes.
And I always did. I mean, when I was a kid, I voiced, my concerns.
What can I do to get in the lineup? What am I doing?
Yeah.
And because there's a couple of times I've talked to coaches and I joke. I said, is she going to play? And he goes, I forgot about her on the bench. And it happened in a game. And so it happens. They get caught up in the game, or they get caught up in, but I hear it from so many other parents, and the misery and the drive, and in high schools, it's really gotten hard, but I'm really lucky. I mean, I wish I had a horror story for you, but I think we managed that and watched it and saw what coaches were just, in it for themselves and their ego, and what we're in it to help grow the kids. And luckily we had a lot of good ones.
Yeah. So for parents that are listening, for what you went through, and again, knowing the connection to high school when it comes together, what is your recommendations for parents dealing with the club cycle equal to the high school cycle, and how you manage that world and what you've seen personally, not only with your own kids, but what you continue to see when you go out there. I mean, what do you recommend for parents to kind of, balance these commitments?
The hardest thing there is.
Yeah.
The hardest thing there is talking to your kids.
Yeah.
And finding out, talking to them, what motivates them. Are they having fun? Is this working for them? And, obviously I communicate for a living, so it's easy. Or finding out what drives them, what are they okay? You sat on the bench for that whole game. Are you okay with that? Yeah, you know what? I'm fine. Yeah. Or this. I'm mad. I'm paying money. Why aren't you playing, damn it? Or why is she playing second base? And why, that's in my, the gears are turning.
Yeah.
But as long as she's comfortable with it, and there were times where, she was on teams or they, were skating and they said, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do this company, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And it's communicating with your kids and not having higher expectations for them than they have for themselves. And that's a lot of these parents, they have these massive expectations and goals and visions. The kid wants to play. And if they're good, they're going to get better. And then they may gravitate towards some of those vision and goals that you have. I never had those. I never had them. With softball, I thought it was kind of fun when she got to be really good, because then I could kind of navigate and see. I used to do a deal with a friend of mine, Mike Gross, calling if your daughter was going to Stanford, you'd already know it. Because all these parents don't realize, unless you're playing Division I basketball or football or D2 football, you're not getting a full ride. You're getting it broken up with your education. So I tried to educate. I knew she was going to go to college and play, but let's find a place where you're going to play, you're going to have fun, you're going to grow, you're going to get a degree and get a lot of it paid for. So it was fun. That was kind of have fun in negotiating and navigating that with her.
Yeah.
And I wish more parents would. And I've talked to so many about them, because they all still think that unless Johnny's a 6'4" left-handed pitcher throwing in the 90s, he's not getting a full ride.
Right.
Because they have 35 players on a college baseball team. You know this better than anybody.
Yeah.
35 players, and and originally had 12 scholarship, full rides. So
I got a scholarship, by the way. It was called books.
Yeah,
I got books.
Well, okay, now at NAU we were a club sport, but we got stipends, and one year we got tuition waivers, which at the time was nothing, but we also got books.
Yeah.
So we went to the bookstore. I got my medical pre-med books for $800.
Yeah.
And then the day before classes started, I went and sold them back and got my $60 worth of comp books, my communications books, and pocketed $600. So from then on, there was no money transfer. The Kevin McCabe rule. They weren't allowing you to cash your books in and get $600.
Yeah.
I'm walking around with $600. I was like the Sheik of Iran.
I think I did that with my books too, by the way.
You trade in your meal ticket. It was a $300 meal ticket.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go eat, pizza every Friday night. But I wish with parents, I want to shake them. I want to love them. Let them be kids. Let them enjoy it. If they're good, they're going to drive themselves to being better. Give them the platform to be better. But Sarah, two of her teammates got opportunities to go play at ASU. Now they got books. They got a half scholarship. Some were great. But for 2 years, they pinch ran twice. They went to every meeting, every study hall, every weight training, everything, and they didn't even bat. They pinch ran twice. So they're not going to play pro softball. Why not go? Unless you're playing for Oklahoma and you're part of a national championship and getting NIL money, go someplace you're going to play and enjoy it and meet friends. Her friends from Chicago, where she went to school, had a roommate from Washington, D.C., a couple from Michigan, one from Sarajevo. These are life experience. So that's what I want to educate these parents on is they don't need to go to Oklahoma P5. They don't go play and find growth opportunities and education and all those other sports. If you're a football player, again, the playing field is a little different. Yeah.
Well, for sure. And I think with Sydney, I'll probably tell this story over and over again, but as a soccer player, the culture around her from club, was all your D1, D1, D1. And then that grows in the peer group. And So when she finally went on recruiting trips, and it was 3 D2 schools, one of which I thought would have been great for her, Western Oregon.
Yes.
I don't believe, there were a lot of factors why she didn't, but I believe part of what happened was it was not success. It was more failure in her mind that she didn't get a D1 offer.
No.
That's my belief as a dad watching it unfold.
Well, the picture's all changed now, too, from the standpoint of with transfers being available. I just went and watched Western New Mexico play New Mexico Highlands in D2 football. In 39 kids from Arizona are playing, including Joni Jackson's son.
I heard
playing
her son
quarterback.
went crazy.
He's playing great, and he's a sophomore, and he's playing. And sure enough, TCU or Nebraska is going to see this and go, do I want to recruit some kid out of high school who's never been on a college campus, or some kids who's put on that 15 pounds of college, played, and thrown for 6,000 yards. So and same thing, if she went to Division II soccer and played great, and all of a sudden UCSB goes, God, we need a midfielder, and we've got some money to give her. So the landscape has changed at that standpoint. But I love what you just said there. And what made me sad, baseball. I've talked to families. My son's he's going to go play for Central Arizona College JUCO. I go, do you know how good JUCO baseball is?
My best years were JUCO baseball.
It was great. And Andre Ethier, ask Andre Ethier how much he grew at JUCO.
Yes.
It's great baseball, and but they're all like, oh, I didn't get a P5, D1, P4. I'm going to JUCO. Well, in 2 years, Kentucky's going to come get you because they need a right-handed middle relief guy who's, who knows how to navigate a college campus. Yeah. So the landscape, and that makes me sad that she was defeated, that she didn't. When Sarah went to an NAIA school, there could have been that, but it was such an opportunity for her. So she even said, she goes, I want to go to either Chicago or Boston because I want to get into business. And Chicago was a 3-hour flight. It made more sense. She went there. It was a great experience. She's now an executive with Price Waterhouse because of that. Yeah. Being in Chicago. Yeah. And I laugh out a little quick. We recruited. It was all, the college was all in one building. Yeah. All in one building. And I thought, what? Where's this campus? Well, we go back and visit it. They take the train to practice. They take the train to games. They're all in. The bottom floor is their old main. Second floor is their nursing school, business school on the third floor. They go, Kevin, we don't go outside from November to March. We're inside. And the other thing is, it's the world they live in now. They're all on their laptop, streaming, doing. It's not the college experience you and I wanted. I wanted her to go to Lake Forest, and it's beautiful. And she had the greatest time of her life living in, had a downtown Chicago, and, the experience she had. Yeah. No regrets with that.
Well, and by the way, just to close the loop with Cindy, Western Oregon's not Chicago, but, she could have been a big fish, small pond and gone and experienced something. And I even told her, if you don't like it, don't go back after the first year, after the first semester, for God's sake. Yeah. The transfer portal should have been named after me because I transferred so many times when I was playing. And I'm like, you have no loyalty to being there. They have no loyalty to you. As much as it would be nice, it's not the same. So anyway, let's move on.
Did she go?
She didn't go. She walked away from soccer at the end of high school.
And did you cry? Did you have a big
I had
mental breakdown?
Oh, it was a mental breakdown, no, but emotional, for sure. Yeah. It was tough. It was tough to watch it end like that, to watch her put everything into it. I know,
and I don't know if Sarah would have, because I have so many friends with their kids. Jody Jackson's daughter, great softball player, and talk about going D2 and all this.
Jody Jackson, a former Fox Sports.
Yes, okay, I guess I should recognize her. She's a big-time national broadcaster. Her son's playing, Connor's playing at Western New Mexico, and daughter's a great softball player too. And I saw Dad, and he says, I think she's just going to go to ASU. And I don't know if Sarah would have. I don't know that feeling. Because I know I'd put my life into it too. Yeah. You had to. Yeah. But I come from a sports world, and if that's what she said, I would have been fine with it. I guess.
You have to get there. I did, and it's tough, right? But then the other part of this you can kind of come back to is say, well, did she play all the sports to really figure out if she played the sport that she really loved the most? And I'm not questioning my daughter's love for soccer because she loved it. But my point is she didn't play a lot of sports, right? She got sucked into the year-round soccer. She was 5'11". She could have been a great basketball player.
Basketball player.
She tried volleyball, but if she played basketball and had more happy moments, maybe that would have been it. And if that's it, does that create the drive to say, well, I'm going to go to any school that's going to take me because I want to keep playing, right? That's the drive that continues to push you. So it's
again, Sarah was 5'2" and 5'4", so there was not many other sports. It wasn't a great, but I think the fascinating thing you talk about here is when they do that, how hard it's going to be, and a lot of parents, it's really hard for them.
Oh yeah, well, I think loss of identity with athletes is huge, and then the parents.
I think what's great is people will go, you could have saved all that money, you could have taken all that money and invested it. She could have gone to any. Well, she got a call when she was being recruited, and she said, "Dad, have you ever heard of this college called Dartmouth?" And I said, let's learn how to pronounce it before we call them back. But all the life lessons she learned through sports and playing as a team and winning as a team and working out and getting better and competing, I think, because people say, well, you could have just taken that money and she could have gone to Dartmouth. And I said, no, she got experiences that she'll never forget in her life. And we did too, as parents traveling and being part of that, eating bad food. Eating at Applebee's and thinking that was a nice restaurant.
The friends that the parents make too, right?
Friends that the parents. So some you sat away from them.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was a photographer on the sideline, and I could get off the sideline for that very reason. I didn't have to sit by some of them.
Look at you. There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna have to move kind of fast.
I'm sorry,
here,
I get yappy.
No, it's all right. It's good. It's good conversation. I want to take us back to high school, and I want to get your thoughts on three things. We got to keep it somewhat brief, so I'm going to go into them.
Rapid fire, as they say.
Well, I got rapid fire, so not quite as fast, but that's at the end. Parents in the stands. So to the parents that are listening, and maybe they're not in the high school world yet, maybe some of them are in the high school world, again, what would you recommend to those parents sitting in the stands watching high school sports of what to do and what not to do? What you've seen and how bad it can be. I
think it's all the things that I do now too is try to be positive in every comment you make, because people next to you hear them.
Yeah.
She's not playing or she's not hit. Well, wait a minute. Just be positive. Cheer for them.
Yeah.
Cheer for every player. Even cheer for the opponent if they make a nice play. And I know that's hard. That's really hard for people because they're so competitive. They want our team to win. But I just wish they could take a step back. And I sound like the old man. I wish they could appreciate it for the love of the game, for what it's doing for them, growth opportunities, all those levels, playing as a team, learning how to win as a team, learning how to lose as a team. But I've seen so many parents get in the car and their kid is embarrassed. Yeah. I've seen the kid on the field embarrassed that their parent was chirping like they were. So those are the things. Watch everything you say, but try to be positive.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Social media, they do that too.
Oh yeah. Chat forums. Oh my God! I'm sure you've seen plenty of that.
I have. And
there's some toxic stuff in Arizona that I've seen in soccer. Anyway, we'll come back to that later. I like this topic. I think this should be changed in AIA, so I'm going to say it so you don't have to. I don't think parents should coach their kids in high school. And by the way, we come back to what we were talking about earlier. You said there are really great coaches out there, but for the percentage that are bad, they ruin it for the good ones. And even though they're parents that can handle coaching their own kids with the rest of the team and do it unbiasedly, there are too many that are out there that do it with bias, whether that's conscious or unconscious. And in high school, which I've seen too many times in firsthand, it should not be allowed. Because whether it is conscious or unconscious, it has a serious ripple effect, not only on the kids, it moves into the stands and the parents have their comments and then subsequently it actually comes back to their kid. And I don't even know if they realize it. So your thoughts on the parent coach, because I know you've seen plenty of it in high school in particular.
Yeah, I have, and I've seen good and bad. And are they assistant coach? I watch Kyle Vandenbosch right now. He's an assistant at Brophy coaching his kids. but he's so far removed from the decision making on a regular basis. And then I'll see a basketball coach coaching his kid, and the kid looks over at him every play, and you go, stop. It's ruining the entire experience. I'd be all right with that. I've heard it even worse in a lot of the other sports, particularly volleyball, or a club coach that is coaching in high school who is playing his kids. We had a big issue with it last year where you had club coaches coaching. Half the kids played for him, half of them played for another club, and it became so. One of the great stories, Ryder Portella, who plays for Ray Portella at Sunny Slope High School, just committed to Colorado. Brilliant basketball player. And Dad is a great guy. And Dad would be the first to say he doesn't need to be on the floor. He does. He's the best player they have. But I've seen other coaches who their kid is shouldn't be on the floor, and yet he's out there in the starting lineup. And that makes me sad. And why aren't you interviewing my kid? And that I get pushed that a few times.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because your kid can't play.
Yeah.
I use it back to the great Mike D'Antoni line. When he played 7 players in 7 seconds or less, and people go, you need to go deeper on your bench. And he looked over at me, he goes, Kev, you sit at practice, you've seen them play. They can't play. And that's you can see. I don't know how they do it, but I'd be all right with that. I don't know if that's been proposed to the AIA. I don't know how strictly it's been proposed, but I worry that club coaches, that's where the friction begins. That they come in,
I agree.
They coach a high school team, and they're playing their 4 kids, and maybe they're not the best, and there's some division among the team. Yeah. So I don't like that.
Well, and plus it's too cloudy, right?
It's so cloudy.
If you're monetizing on one end,
especially soccer and volleyball, which are the two
for sure.
Softball,
I've heard it in baseball.
Softball has the benefit of it being 9 girls, and you may have 5 playing club or 6 playing club, and you've got to have a bunch to play to compete, and they all may play for different teams. So if you've got a club coach, he's probably not coaching any of them or one of them, but I can see I see a lot of these schools recruiting through club and bring all 4 of these teams. That's what I told you about earlier. Come, I played with the all club all winter. Why don't you come to Perry High School?
Yeah,
because I live an hour away.
Yeah,
but
and I know you love this subject, money and influence on high school programs.
Well, it's money and influence anywhere is it's kind of gross. And it's funny you bring this up because I was just at Brophy this past week, and I said, how do you guys get around it? And first off, a lot of it's old money at Brophy. There's billionaires whose kids have gone there and legacy kids, and they'll just say no. They just flat out, here's your check back. But a lot of the new schools and club, if you've got money, my kid's going to play, or you just sold your business for $80 million, and you think my kid should be playing. I'm going to donate, I'm going to donate $2 million to the school, and I hate it. I hate it, and it's unfortunate. It's in the private schools, you see it. It's more visible. The public schools, again, they're surviving on whatever they can. There's not big money donors. They're supporting their booster clubs any way they can.
Yeah.
And the rich get richer, obviously. When the rich communities where the homes are being built, they can go out of state and play in tournaments. Go play a football game in Ireland. Hamilton did that years ago. So the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. So
yeah.
I hate it.
So would you tell parents that are out there, if you see these signs, I personally would tell them, if you have an option of a parent coach, and this may not be an option in high school, right, because it's your community high school, but anywhere, if you see a parent coach and you have a choice, run. Don't play for that coach. Go somewhere else.
Unless he has a track record that, and where the kid
That's one of the good ones.
Yeah, that's one of the good ones. And I genuinely really believe that 90% of them are that way. I've seen them coach, and all of a sudden their kid comes along, and then it gets muddied. And I'll ask that in a lot of my interviews. Is it hard? Is it fun? Is it challenging playing for your dad? And does mom have to wear a referee's uniform?
Yeah,
and then you've also got to hear the other parents in the stands. So mom can't sit in the stands because she's going to hear, the mother of the son.
Yeah.
So it's. I think they have to know, and I think that's got to be played out and beforehand. And you usually know if this coach has a track record of just playing his favorites or playing his kids. They used to joke about club baseball that they only carried 7 players because club baseball, the coach's kid is going to pitch, and the assistant coach's kid is going to play shortstop, and so you only need 7 players.
Yeah.
And I laughed, but it is pretty gross.
Yeah.
Pretty gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, a couple more, because believe it or not, we've whipped through an hour. But I did want to ask you, and we're going to have to do this a few more times, obviously, on the AIA side, or any high school federation for that matter. Do you think they should do more to protect high school athletes' mental and physical health, and what could they do?
So much. And I even suggested it this past week because of social media, of money that's being involved, being thrown around for scholarships for NIL, that everybody wants a mixtape of their kid. Everybody wants photos to post and sell and celebrate. They've got a safety of the sport. It's also a feeding ground for anybody who may have ulterior motives, which I worry about.
Yeah.
Somebody starts a website, high school sports website, and is a pedophile, and he's given a credential. They're starting to do background checks now with the AIA. They've just started, and yet it's continues to be an epidemic of all these people on the sidelines. There's parents. Who are these people? And nobody's monitoring it. So I even suggested this last week that safety of the kids is paramount. Who's interviewing your daughter? After the game, you see somebody down there with a camera and one of these little mini microphones. Yeah. And where's that going? And what kind of pictures are being, and how is it being edited? The safety of the kids and the protection of the product is paramount. And it's getting worse because there's streaming services that are broadcasting games. Cardinals are doing a game of the week. The Fiesta Bowl is doing a game of the week. So who's talking to these kids? And I worry about that. And who's sending? I have rules. Obviously, I've done this a long time. I will not interview a kid without making sure that the parents know that I've reached out to them, or the coaches know, or both. And I always make sure of that. I don't. Because somebody may call your kid and get their phone number, and I have their phone numbers in the middle of the night. Hey, send me pictures. Send me inappropriate pictures. And it's coming.
Yeah.
And it's there. And
it's there.
It's there.
Yeah, the stories are definitely there.
They're already there.
Yeah.
So they've got to safety and protect the product.
Yeah. What about what the federations, AIA, could do to promote multi-sport athletes to play?
So that's a good question, because even in the smaller schools where you do play multi-sports, the schedules overlap. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest problems. These schedules overlap. Football ends the end of November, and October basketball started. So that you can't, all of a sudden, if you're a superstar athlete, they're going to invite you in, and you're going to be in you're going to be in football shape. And even, the Valley Christians that are playing at 3A, they got to play all 3 sports because they don't have enough kids or enough bodies. So they're playing football, then they're playing basketball, and then playing baseball, and trying to get their body in those kind of shapes. So I think scheduling can help with that, moving the schedule down.
Yeah.
But small schools are going to struggle because of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're at the real rapid fire now, Kevin. This is the real rapid fire. So it's hopefully one word, but I'm sure we're not going to keep you there.
Yeah.
I got quite a few, but I might have to cut them down. So let's start. Best venue for high school sports in Arizona.
Cromer Stadium in Flagstaff.
Okay. Which matters more?
Bush Ridge is a close second.
See, I told you we couldn't get
I
one
know
word.
it, but, yes.
All right. Okay. Which matters more, rivalries or championships?
Rivalries to me.
Okay.
That's me. I love rivalries. I love the theater and the pageantry that makes those up. Championships are cool, but they're so limited to who gets them and gets to celebrate them. So,
okay. Yeah. I limited this to one athlete, but maybe this is a female and male if you'd like. Yeah. Favorite Arizona high school athlete you've seen play over the years?
Favorite? Oh, favorite. That's a really hard question. I mean, I've got so many that we in my book, my hero book.
Who comes to mind right away?
Koa Pete in boys basketball. Girls sports, I'll just go with Samaya Jenkins, flag football player who's changed the game. Yeah. These are current, so I'm just.
By the way, we didn't even get into that.
I know,
and it's amazing.
It's a whole other animal.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get into that.
Koa Pete came out of 8th grade, out of 2 weeks out of graduation, played in a tournament at Brophy for high schools. And he was like the second or best player on the floor. He just graduated 8th grade. Yeah. I don't know what you look like in 8th grade.
Not that.
Are you shaving? No. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Let's see. name one Arizona coach who doesn't get enough credit.
Kyle Enders, football coach, Red Mountain. He's DJ Khalid. All he does is win.
Two more. Favorite memories with the kids' sports days, your kids, the McCabe Five.
Well, I told you this, and it still resonates with me. It was when my daughter was playing softball. They would come in from Robert Morris University to play in Tucson for a 3-week tournament. And she had a couple of days off. And I said, well, let's go back up to Phoenix, have dinner. And we're driving up. And she pops in or starts playing a playlist of all the songs we heard going to games. And the cheesiest songs, Drake and Kid Cudi. And I just started crying. Yeah. I started crying. This is my daughter who's now become a college, but those memories of going to Legacy Park or Legends and the hour early and going to get a coffee. And, oh, man, it made me cry.
Yeah.
So
I feel you.
Oh, my God.
I feel you, brother.
And she knows that, too.
Yeah.
I tell the story.
Yeah,
Dad, wait, what about this song?
Yeah. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. All right, last question. Everybody gets this. Finally, what does it mean to you to be valiant in sports as a sports parent?
Well,
what do you recommend to everybody out there?
You know, I really just wish you can look in the rearview mirror. I wish objects closer than they are. I'm fortunate that I lived a life of celebrating me, television boy. And I've been able late in my life to realize it's not about me. It's not about you. If you can lift everybody, live that servant life, Valiant, live that servant life of lifting other people up around you, everybody's going to be better. I know I sound like, oh, look at TV boy. It took me a long time to learn that. But if you can celebrate everybody around you and lift them up, you'll feel much better about yours. You'll be a champ. You'll be valiant.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I appreciate you asking me because, again, all those years, you know, worrying about how I looked. I had a frame of black and a wrong edit. Called the kid the wrong. You know, now it just
I get it.
Doesn't matter.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, we did it. We made it to an hour, and I have to tell you, I thank you so much for sitting down with me and letting me be on the other side. And I do want to say this for our audience because it's been up for a year. When I called you and told you I'd finally created the nonprofit, this is a year ago, you were so excited and so passionate. Literally that weekend I was on your radio show talking about it. And it's been up on the site ever since. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate your enthusiasm and your passion for the kids, your positivity. It's all so great. Your voice should be amplified even more here, by the way. I think there's so much that needs to change in your experiences.
I've got you now to do that.
Well, that's fine.
I'm so lucky. You know, I know there's so many other things we didn't touch on, but I love the fact that the hot button for you, because the world, we're seeing it day by day change, and a lot of it's not pretty. Yeah. A lot of it in sports and high school is not, and it really saddens me. And it forced me to take 8 weeks off this past summer because it got so the diabolical side of sports got to me, and I can't. We've got to lift up. We've got to do all the good things that you're doing here. So keep doing it.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to try. I'm going to hopefully empower the parents to guide their kids to the best journeys and reduce mental health and physical health. So thank you very much for being a part of this. So if you found value in this conversation, be sure to share it with another parent, an athlete, or even a coach. For more stories like Kevin's and other resources to help you along your youth sports journey, visit playfearless.org. And remember, for all the parents that are in the thick of it, just starting out, you're allowed to make bold, informed decisions for your child. You're allowed to walk away from the wrong team. You're allowed to demand a better culture. But most of all, you're allowed to trust your gut and lead your family the way that's right for you and especially your kids. You heard Kevin talk about it here. Until next time, be valiant, play fearless.